that is always important for us is this intellectual honesty. Basically knowing that we really don't know what we do know and what we don't. In other words, if you claim a circle of competence, you have to understand the edge of that competence. The philosophy is that it is relatively simple. The practice is really hard. So I wouldn't say the philosophy really evolved all that much for me. Before I got really exposed to value investing, I think my whole approach to life was pretty much a set along similar lines. And so there was not much of a jump for me. The idea of buying something at a discount for something that really worth more is simply intelligent. So I would say almost all intelligent investing involves some kind of a value investing. And now the difference is that your focus on value evolves over time. And to different individuals, they tend to focus different areas of value. For me, when I first started as a value investor, this is now 28 years ago when I bought my first stock, I didn't really know much about business. I was born and raised in China during the Cultural Revolution. There was not much of a private business or market economy back then, so I had to learn everything anew. So at the beginning, obviously, I looked for value primarily on the balance sheet in the classic style of Benjamin Graham, looking for a cigarette butt. Looking for the last puff, basically, looking for statistically cheap businesses and ignore what the business really is. And that served me well. And then over time, I evolved into understanding smaller businesses. And because I was just intensively curious about how business run. So much so, actually, I evolved into help funding or co-creating a dozen or so early stage startup companies. And that experience has taught me a lot about how businesses run, what constitute a good or bad or mediocre businesses. And so over time, I evolved into looking for really good businesses, small maybe, but really good businesses. And then that leads me to look for good businesses in Asia, and eventually for businesses with enduring competitive advantage with a long growth trajectory ahead of them. And so the places where we're looking for value evolves over time. But the basic philosophy have pretty much remained the same. It's just our core competence expanded over time. Now, I have been very fortunate to be influenced at the very beginning by the investment giant, Buffett and Munger. And later on, I was really lucky. It was just a stroke of luck that you can't even make it up in fictions. That I strike a good connection with Charlie Munger, and he became an investor 2003, 2004, and we've been partners since then. Basically, he has been a mentor, an investor, a business partner, and a great friend all these years. And for many years, we have dinner every Tuesday night. And so it's my version of a Tuesday night with Charlie every week. That lasted for years until just right around the pandemic. And we talk a lot more. So obviously I had a great deal of influence by him. But I have to say that the greatest influence from Charlie was really beyond just investment. It was more of a role model in the way he conducted himself in real life. Now, I think for every profession, for everybody, it is wonderful to have role models in life. And often we find role models among the eminent dead because it's safer. So it's pretty risky to pick a role model that is still alive. and I always have a risk of disappointing. But in my case, I got really, really lucky in the sense that my role model never failed and instead continued to inspire me right into his 97th year, basically. And so mostly it's really basing his attitude towards life and his ability to keep equanimity, in a sense, in the face of up and downs, success or setbacks. And I witnessed quite a bit of them over the 17 years or so we've been working closely. Maintain that rational composure, commonsensical approach to all problems, investment or life. That is extraordinarily hard. And it is a bit of against our natural tendencies. And I've really watched up close and personal how Charlie have conducted himself. And it is in that regard that he's probably the most influential person in my life. And I have been very, very lucky in that regard.
But then what other dimensions do you do things differently today than other investors who are less successful?
I don't spend my time studying how other people are doing that. We spend most of our time studying industries, studying specific companies. We're looking for the ones who are already successful, try to answer what really make them successful. Can that success be continued? And some of the time we have answers and some of the time we don't. We just continue to really study them and continue at it until we have an answer. I think one thing that is always important for us is this intellectual honesty. Basically knowing that we really don't know what we do know and what we don't. In other words, if you claim a circle of confidence, you have to understand the edge of that confidence. You have to know what is false in, what is false out. You have to be very honest with yourself. So we really insist on knowing inside and out a particular business and to the point you're able to predict its outcome, for example, in the next 10 years. At least I want to know at the worst case scenario, what the business will look like 10 years from now. And so we do have a long-term horizon in terms, we can't really predict it forever, but I want to see whether I can predict with a very high degree of confidence, say 90% of confidence, that at a minimum what the business will look like in 10 years, given all different contingencies. And so, and most of the time, by the way, we don't have an answer. And we just keep studying, keep at it. And sometimes we study for years and years before we see, okay, we really get it. And then we wait for price to come to our striking zone. And a lot of the time they don't. And so that makes our selection very, very difficult. And so when we do select them, we tend to really own them for a very, very long time. Because the businesses, they're really good and we really fully understand are very rare. How do you mean we really do understand that? So anything that we would own, we would buy a lot more as they go down. Yeah, if they go down 50% and 60%, 70%, we buy more. So that really gives you a measure of our definition of whether we understand them.